Hi everyone, namaste. It's Allison and this is Simply Zen Spirit. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about something I mentioned in the very first video on this channel, which was this sense of awakening that occurred one day after a meditation. And if you haven't watched that video, I'll link it at the end in the end screen of this today. But I'm going to follow up on that because I think I told you in that video that there were other instances that happened that same year, actually in 2014, that were similar to what happened that day when I had this massive breakthrough. On July 31st, 2014, my mother died. And I've talked about her and my interactions with her after she died in another video that I've already done on the channel. Well, about a week after she died, she was being cremated, and I was not, this was up in Washington State, and I was not there. But it was very upsetting to me because my mother did not want to be cremated. And remember, my mother had already come and kind of talked to me at this time. And my sister was doing it because she just didn't want to pay for a casket to. My mother was being buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and the burial was free, but to get the casket and ship it back, it would have cost money, and my sister didn't apparently want to do that, even though my mother had the money in her estate for her to cover that. So it was a very big issue between us because she had to get me to agree to the cremation, which the only reason I did at the time was I was trying to have a good interaction with my sister, and I thought maybe we could still have a relationship, which was foolhardy of me because I never, after about 2 more weeks after that, we haven't spoken since. So I was a little upset, and my sister was going to be there at the crematory when my mother was cremated, and she did talk to me. She did call me later and told me how everything went, which is strange. But anyway, the point is, I was already kind of worked up that morning because I knew that this was going on. Well, the plan that day was I was supposed to go meet with my meditation teacher who had asked me a couple of weeks before if I would work with him on writing a book, a spiritual book that he wanted to do. He could not really write himself, and he knew that I had written some things, and I'd worked in newspapers and stuff, so he wanted me to help him. And I was happy to help him. I mean, the whole deal was if we ever did a book, then, I would get some sort of payment at that point or percentage or whatever. So we had arranged to get together to talk about the project on this day, on August 8th, actually, it was. And so, first, before I went to meet him that day, I went to Walmart to get some groceries or something like that. And in Walmart, I started having another spiritual awakening experience. And the reason I knew this was happening is I started tuning in just unconsciously to everyone around me. Like I could almost sense what they were feeling. And so a guy walked past me, and I could actually feel the pain from him. And when I got up to the register, the person that was handling my checkout, I could tell that she was really not having a good day. And I mean, more than I normally would be able to tell that. And so I said some nice things to her because, I just wanted to make her day a little bit better than it was. And she seemed, she kind of half smiled at me and stuff. Well, anyway, I left the Walmart, and I was really feeling this weird sensation in my system, like throughout my whole body and my emotions and everything, where everything was kind of buzzing, like just this internal buzz feeling. And so I get to, and I had not had coffee, just, or tea actually. I can't really use a lot of caffeine because it really, my nervous system is so on the edge, shall we say, that I just can't I can handle tea, but I can't handle coffee. So anyway, I get to my car, and I get in my car, and no sooner had I closed the door and I'm sitting there, and I just feel this rush of energy or something just kind of, it's almost like it shot into me or something. It was a very weird feeling. And all of a sudden I started laughing because, as I've talked about in another video on this channel, laughing and crying are the two real outward manifestations when you're having a really intense spiritual experience. So I started laughing and I couldn't stop laughing. I'm sitting alone in my car. There's the radio's not on. I'm watching people walk by and I'm just laughing. I mean, I have the windows up and everything because it was summer and it was Arizona, so I had the AC on. But I mean, I'm laughing and I could not. I had tears just streaming down my face. I was laughing so much. And I couldn't stop for, I don't know, a good 10 minutes, maybe more. And I knew at that point, because I'd already been through this a few times, that something weird was going on. So I had to drive back home, take my groceries, put them away, and then I was going to head over to meet my meditation teacher for lunch. I mean, it's hard to even drive because I'm in an altered state at this point. And that kind of scared me too, because, you know, that's not real safe to be driving if you're whacked out like that. So, which is why they say don't drive, drink and drive, or do drugs and drive, or whatever. So I head home and I put my groceries away, and I'm still, I mean, the laughter has stopped, but I'm still feeling this just amazing, like altered state feeling. And I'm wide awake, just, you know, living normally, and yet feeling it was a little bit less intense than the first time I had it back in April, when I had that first experience in April of 2014. So I get in the car to drive, and it was about a 15-20 minute drive to where I needed to meet my meditation guy. And I get to the place and I walk in, and he's already there waiting for me. And he just took, because he was very, you know, he was incredible, had incredible spiritual gifts. And he just took one look at me and he goes, "Wow, you're having a day, aren't you?" And I go, "Yes, I am. I am having a day." And so, you know, I start laughing a little bit and I walk in and he goes, "Well, this is going to be interesting then." So we go and we get our food. And of course, when you're in this state, you're not even hungry. Like the first time I experienced it, you're not even hungry, you know? So unlike a drug-induced kind of altered state where you could get the munchies or something like this, no, when you're like this, the last thing in your mind is like hunger, or, you know, any kind of physical type of need is just not there. So I go up and I get just like a Caesar salad or something like that and some iced tea. We go sit down, and I'm just like, I mean, he's talking, he's telling me kind of his vision for this book he wants to do and all this stuff. And I'm just listening like this, and my eyes are real big, and it, you know, and he just starts laughing once in a while because he could tell that I'm just, you know, loony out there with this bliss. You know, I'm just oozing it, basically. And the thing is, I was very tuned into everyone around us, and I was noticing everything, and I was like talking about, now this time I did not gush to complete strangers and tell them I love you and how beautiful they were and things like that, but I was thinking it. Like I was sitting there thinking it. I'm like, wow, everything is so beautiful in here, and all the people are amazing, and like it's incredible. It's incredible. And this lasted through the whole lunch, and you know, I felt, well, if I'd been eating lunch with any other person than the person I was eating lunch with, I would have felt bad, but I didn't feel bad because he knew exactly what was going on, and he just kind of, I mean, to him, that's like another day of the week. I mean, he had kind of experiences like that a lot. So to him, it was nothing. But to me, having been having these experiences for like 4 or 5 months, it was pretty amazing to me to have this. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't even remember exactly, obviously, what we said because it was just all, but I just remember I wasn't eating. I took like maybe 5 bites of my salad. I didn't care about the salad. I didn't care about anything except this feeling of bliss. So we finally, we sat there for about an hour and a half, maybe total. And he ate his lunch, and he just kept talking to me about what he wanted to do, even though he knew I was probably only taking in part of it. And we got up to go to the door and walked outside and say our goodbyes, because we went home in our separate cars. And it just I drove home again in this state. Now, it was getting a little less by this time, but I get home and the same thing happened to me that happened the very first time I had one of these experiences, which, as it starts to wear off, which takes a few hours, you get exhausted. I was exhausted. And so I got home and I had to like lay down and just I think I dozed off for a little bit, and I definitely kind of rested, and then I got up and I just felt drained. I mean, not like, sick or anything, but just, you're just the comparison to how you did feel. And plus all that energy that was circulating through you, and then now it's kind of dissipated. You just feel drained. And so, I had to kind of take it easy and whatever. And then by the next day, I was, back to my baseline, back to normal, I guess I'd say. So, what is my takeaway about this? Well, 2014 was the year of these experiences for me. I had several of these experiences like this. I loved them at the time. I think they are amazing. I think they happen. I'm not an expert on the whole awakening process or the whole enlightenment process. It's all kind of semantic for me. I'm not really sure what means what, but I know that it is part of the spiritual journey. That at some point on your spiritual journey, you'll go through kind of an opening, an awakening, I call it, where these kinds of things start happening, because they're happening in bits and pieces, because I don't think you could handle them all at once. I guess some people have had them all at once. Now, I know some people have mentioned in the comments, and I know I've heard this elsewhere too, that, maybe this was a Kundalini awakening. It's possible. That's entirely possible. I've read a lot about Kundalini. I know it can happen in various ways. It doesn't always happen exactly the same. If that's the case, then I had Kundalini happen in several episodes, is what I think. And I think this was just one of them, this particular day. It was interesting that it was the day that I was really kind of upset about what happened with my mother, and that my mother was being cremated this day. That's what I find so interesting, is that, I don't believe there are ever any coincidences. And so who knows what the connection there is. But it was interesting. It was amazing. I don't have experiences quite like that anymore. What I have now is kind of that feeling when I'm actually meditating in a very more subtle way. And sometimes when I'm out in the world, I do now still get times when I'm more in tune with everything. It feels like I'm more connected, more in tune that particular day or for a few hours. But it's not the intensity of these early experiences that happened 10 years ago. So I wanted to share that with you today. If you've had any similar experience to that, please share it in the comments below. I do really love to hear about other people's experiences with spiritual awakening, because I don't have a lot of contact with people right now in my life that have these similar experiences. So it's one of the reasons I started this particular channel, is I wanted to reach out to others who were having similar experiences, and maybe they could share them. So if you've had something similar, please share it. And until next time, be kind to yourself and to others, and take care. Bye.